Silence speaks, role of master, indebtedness. I am greatly indebted to my gracious master who has so kindly put me on to swimming through the infinite, which otherwise would have been possible only after death. And he is still pushing me on further through it. Not only this, he also bestows upon me all that he acquired himself during the course of his swimming through the infinite ocean. For in every case, the ascent continues infinitely. We'll go ahead. Lack of earnestness. None seems to bring forth the happy tidings of higher ascent by dint of self effort. For the most part, I have myself to do everything for them, to put them on the path, to inspire them with the grace, to clean their system, to push them along and fix them up on higher levels. What may all this be due to? It may be because of my excessive eagerness to see them all at the highest in the shortest possible time. Under the influence of this feeling, I always feed them spiritually much beyond their capacity, even up to the limit of loss of appetite, with the result that further craving gets subsided for a time. But together with all that, the want of due interest and lack of earnestness on the part of Abhyasi cannot be denied. You are always welcome to my humble cottage, a cottage which is so badly dilapidated that none perhaps would like to rest in it even for a while, for fear of being drenched all over by the light shower from the base, leaking in all through. Devotion. Your view that you do not find any difference between the path and the goal is an indication of close attachment. It is certain that an Abhyasi shall definitely attain perfection if he has devotion in him and has by some good chance got a guide who is permanently settled in the infinite and keeps alive the remembrance of the homeland in the heart of the Abhyasi. You are definitely under the guidance of such a one in the form of my great master, whose effulgence, if keenly observed, will be found spreading all through the world. If anyone ponders seriously over it, he will find it full in every nook and corner. I shall, however, go on serving you with the wine of spirituality and at the same time developing your capacity for more and more. What else do you want of me? Any questions? So we'll go ahead. Sri Aurobindo and Maharishi Ramana. You may, by the way, study the thoughts either of Sri Aurobindo or of Maharishi Ramana, but you must also go on with what you are after. I too had gone through Mahayoga. The followers of the Maharishi are even today found to be badly entangled in it. and controverting over the view regarding the exact position of the heart in the human body, whether it is on the right or on the left. There is, however, no mystery about it. It will be quite clear if we take the whole structure of the physical heart into consideration. Maharishi uh, Maharishi insists upon inquiring, who am I? In my humble opinion, it would be far better instead to try to forget who I am. The body consciousness and soul consciousness must both necessarily go away. And this view is based on my personal experience. I've always been a free thinker, so I feel no hitch to express myself freely and frankly. I'm always ready to welcome anyone who may be able to take Abhyasis further on beyond the limit to which I mean to give them approach. When you have taken up one for your guru or guide on the divine path, and at any subsequent stage discover his incapability to help you up to the final mark, decide for yourself what avail he can be to you, except wasting your time and energy, and to remain ever deprived of the final approach. You engage a tutor for your child to coach him up in a certain subject, but afterwards you discover that he is not so well up in the subject to serve the required purpose. What will you do then, except to replace him by another, better suited for the job? The same should be the procedure in this case also. We'll take a pause.
Madhava, what is this confusion? What is this confusion about the heart being on the right or left?
అంటే అది ఇప్పుడు ఆత్మన్ పాయింట్ రైట్ సైడ్ ఉంటది కదా సార్, రైట్ దాన్ని వాళ్ళు హార్ట్ అనుకుంటారు అనమాట.
ఓకే ఓకే.
సో హీ వాజ్ ఇన్ ఎ స్పిరిచువల్ స్టేట్ వేర్ హీ ఫెల్ట్ ది నేచర్ ఆఫ్ దట్ Atman knot or not. Second knot, he was very clear to such an extent that Babuji says that his point two, Atman knot is so pure that the complete, the ultimate itself was getting reflected there. So he felt he was realized there. But Babuji says he was only up to that point. So they consider that as heart actually.
Right, right. And this Mahayoga refers to Sri Aurobindo, the super mind?
That I don't know. I do have gone through. I don't know. I don't know what Babuji meant by this Mahayoga. Probably he must have read some works of Aurobindo. He must have written like that.
Yeah.
Shall we go ahead?
Yeah.
Owning of condition. Throughout my spiritual life, I could never even for a moment imagine that the vast spiritual treasure possessed by my master was not mine in any sense. Exactly like a child who always thinks of his father's wealth to be his own. I do possess it in the fullest degree, and at the same time am never miserly in bestowing it upon others associated with me. But the difficulty arises when one does not try to own it for himself. Truly, why should one at all be after it when he finds me already reduced to destitution on this account. A seeker shall always go to the place where he finds spirituality abundance, whereas I, being now totally devoid of it, so become then is there in me that might attract others towards me. It may perhaps be my love for them, but that too is untraceable, and have got merged into one, losing all distinctions. Again, it may be their faith, perhaps, which might offer them a clue to it in the core of my heart. It is obvious that the consciousness of existence brings to mind the idea of God. But what may be the solution when the very existence has been reduced to non-entity? One reduced to that state of being can be taken into consciousness only by him who is the real lover and the true seek of non-entity. In that case, he will go on giving up himself, make his own self quite void and empty. The climax of non-entity is the ultimate state, which is termed as Bhuma. But since it is not possible to take into account that beingless distinctions of attributes are introduced into it, man by nature inclined towards materiality brings him down to a level similar to his own. They also say that no one can love of his own species only. Now, the Guru, being one of his own species, is considered. Consequently, he becomes the object of his thought, related with the absolute reality. Though the rays of the sun fall uniformly all places, still different parts stain different effects in accordance with their nature and capacity. Thus, one must assume for himself the position of the equator so as to receive the direct rays of the sun. He must also be pure and clean to retain that effect in himself. Questions? Thing to add? So just this one I'm thinking, when reduced to that state of being, can be taken into consciousness only by him who is the real lover and a true seeker of non-entity.
Now it's very clear, no? He's trying to describe his own state, where he says even spirituality is gone, everything is gone. He's not existing anymore in the sense he feels that his awareness that I am so and so is also disappeared, and then he's trying to say that I'm almost as good as vacuum or non-existing, and yoga means union with God, and God is subtle. And unless your mind also becomes as subtle as God, the union cannot take place. So unless you are also willing to lose your all awareness of body or awareness of soul, you will not be attracted to Babuji's consciousness. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay.
So if you are lover of peace or lover of balance and all that, you will not be able to catch him. You will not be, your mind, those notions will not allow your mind to develop an identity or merge in his condition. Unless your mind, you see, yoga is union. Union is layavastha. Layavastha means identity of the identity, like water and water is H2O. Water everywhere is of the same identity. Whereas two human beings, you and I, are of different DNA or different physical makeup. But mentally, we can be, there can be identity in a way of thinking, way of behaving and all that. There can be a lot of similarity, but identity is also possible between human beings. Suppose like all people pray to Lord Shiva. People who pray to Lord Shiva, their way of thinking will be identical. People who pray to Lord Vishnu, their similarity is there. People who love God with passion and then who wants to give up their, they lose their sense of ego and then they die before they, you have to die before you have to give up your head to enter into the kingdom of God. So in that sense, there are several people who are identical in that idea of self-sacrifice. So owning of the condition means union only. Union will happen only between two similar things. Suppose your mind is very pure, which he mentions in the last paragraph, then you will be able to retain that condition. Suppose you have fear, or you don't practice truth, or you have judgmental value, you don't treat everybody equally, I mean, and then you don't have contentment, then you cannot retain those conditions. Suppose you are always restless, running around and all that, you don't have contentment at all, then those conditions will not remain in your mind. The mind has to be pure. Like suppose a cloth is there, suppose this cloth is there, if you want to dye it as red, or suppose dye the cloth actually. I'm using a metaphorical language. Suppose it is dirty, it's full of dirt and grime, and then it is collected in mud. If I take that cloth which has been contaminated with my mud and dirt and the grime and all that, and try to dye it within red color, it will not appear good. You have to wash it off first, make it free from all the dirt and disease, then only dye it in a proper color. Then that will add beauty and that will be correct. So your heart should, first of all, should be free from prejudices, free from, like this sixth commandment and eighth commandment. Unless that state is there, and unless you are plain and simple, you will not be able to own the condition. There will be no identity. Your mind, there's already impurity is there in your heart, and then God cannot stick there. He finds it difficult. So your heart has to be purified. And if you do the methods as Babuji describes, then it is possible to own the condition and then achieve identity between your mind and Babuji's mind actually. So that is what yoga means, that you will be thinking and feeling like him only, like your guru. So that is yoga. Yoga in one sense is easy because your true nature is that only, and then you're giving up what is not your true nature. And then if you surrender, God himself does the heavy lifting, and then your job is done. But if you don't understand the importance of surrender, then it will be very, very difficult. Almost it's like an impossibility. So you cannot succeed in meditation, yoga and all that. You cannot be liberated actually. So if you surrender, then the work is done by him for your sake. On your behalf, he finishes the work. But if you don't understand and try to train your mind to create that feeling of dependency, create that feeling of devotion, how many years you spend in meditating and all that, it is success is impossible. It's very, very difficult actually. But if you grasp it correctly and then contemplate on the thoughts of Babuji and then try to train your mind to develop dependency, then it is an easy thing actually.
Yes.
You can turn the page.
Talks about the Guru as the personification of God.
You see, last sentence is, thus one must assume for himself the position of the equator so as to receive the direct rays of the sun. He must also be pure and clean to retain that effect in himself. So that is important.
We'll go ahead. Following the master. It is said that a true disciple must try to imitate his master. But at the same time, they say that a disciple must follow what his master commands him to do and not what he actually does himself. The question arises, how are the two directives to be reconciled? A real master is known to be the possessor of supernormal virtues related with his outer self as well as with his inner self. If the Abhyasi imitates those virtues, he himself gets transformed accordingly. It is in this respect that the Abhyasi is advised to imitate the master. The second directive is also quite to the point. It directs the Abhyasi to follow the master's commands and not his actions. It is but definite that the master's command will always be in the best interest of the Abhyasi, and so it is but proper to follow it without question. Now, the latter part of it seems to be a bit confusing, though in fact it is not so. The reason is that in a certain exceptional cases, the master has to take up work for which he might have to go against common rules of discipline. For example, I was once commanded to go through a lane inhabited by prostitutes. I had to pass through the lane, looking with attention upon almost every house. Now, if anyone had witnessed me in that position, what a bad opinion he would have formed of me. There were several other occasions of the kind, and it is often the case with others too. But that does not mean that any of them could have thereby fallen into degradation. I wish to see you all going by the path which is free from pollution and defilement. Whereas my path, as luck would have it, lies through dirt and filth, where one would easily develop nausea, had there not been the supreme divine force to protect him also. Such is my world, where I am to be so sadly lacking in pace, though on the other hand, I wish you all to abide in peace. This is, in short, what I have in store for myself. Going about with a rent up heart, looking only at filthy drains and ditches. I am so much engrossed in this state, it is hard for me to get out. In other words, it has become the primary object of my life. My master, once commenting upon my condition, had remarked that the higher a man goes, the greater shall be the lowness of in his view. But after all, this is the greatest boon rarely bestowed upon even in the course of ages. Any questions? What he clarifies is clear on the two things: imitate the master and follow master's commands, not what he actually does. Then I will go ahead. Duty. People must get awakened to the sense of duty. I undertake to attend to my part of the duty, while they should look to their own. But the practice must be supplemented with the feelings of love and devotion. On my part, I am ever over desirous to give you all the greatest by way of spiritual lift and in the minimal possible time. If you advance even one step onwards, I am overzealous and to advance four steps towards you. We'll go ahead. The ideal and shortcomings. As the world is transient, everyone has to depart sooner or later, but some go without any load and some go with load. Most of the people depart leaving wealth behind, and because of this alone, their memory remains fresh in their minds of their heads. But the earning of the spiritually perfect man is something else. Unpossessed, he goes possessed. I mean by unpossessed that the search of the possessed by becoming unpossessed in is the search of the one by becoming alone. He has no concern with comforts, luxuries, successes, and pleasures of the world. He is liberated from its bondage in his lifetime itself. And by possessed, what I mean is that he takes along with him bread on the way, that is the real essence of his spiritual earnings. He leaves his spiritual earnings to his spiritual inheritors, just like the householder, and each receives the quantity in proportion to his capacity, while the remaining is swallowed by the descendant. And this reaches to initiated members only, because legally the spiritual offspring alone deserve it. Some part, of course, reaches those who also have attained Layavastha, and this is right too. In spirituality, the share goes to the real deserving, and that is why I have repeatedly written, exhorting Abhyasis to become deserving of that thing, and for that two things are required: love and obedience, and both these things are interdependent. Any questions?
Dr. Madhava, what does it mean by the remaining is swallowed by the descendant?
Shall I go to earlier page?
Yeah, he leaves his spiritual earnings to his spiritual inheritors, just like the householder, and each receives the quantity in proportion to his capacity, while the remaining is swallowed by the descendant.
The initiated disciples and his representative, they get the remaining share, which the general population who are not who are not able to digest, who are not spiritually aspiring for liberation and all that, they get whatever they are craving to that extent. Remaining is absorbed by the spiritual initiated disciples actually.
Okay.
Initiation happens only when you have in Shat Sampatti, Shraddha is there, no? Shraddha, that means once you're surrendered, you are an initiate. You automatically complete surrender aipote, you are initiated.
Right.
So they will get automatic share. If you read second commandment commentary law, he says automatically whatever is there in the Guru will automatically passed on to the aspirant. The invertendo rule comes in here and so whatever is there is automatically transferred because the link is permanent link is established.
Yeah.
Whereas other people who are on the path, who are majority of the people, they're torn between the world and God. They want to escape the suffering of the world and then they think about God, but they're still not firm. They still believe that the world is real and if you work hard, you will get happiness in this world itself. That feeling is, they're torn between those feelings. So depending on the degree of deservancy, the amount of work they do for the master or work they do for the general welfare of the society, those people will get something more out of his earnings.
Right.
So deserving is if you, it is a science only, no? Suppose if you are thinking about him, your mind is a power which has come from the same source. So if you are thinking about the divine light and then you are putting attention on the divine light with an idea of understanding what is the nature of the divine light, which is actually the meaning of meditation, is we are trying to rest our attention on the divine light so that we'll understand the nature of the divine light. So when we are resting, then absorption happens and then we'll be moving on the path. So if that process, as it is done regularly, gradually it acquires a lot of strength and then it becomes a very powerful passion. You don't think of thinking about other things. You will be totally absorbed in the love for God. And then as a result of that, his attention will come and then surrender happens. Those people will get more share actually.
Okay.
Because they have seriously tried to understand God, try to link up with God, try to merge in God. So they try to make themselves deserving of the attention of God on them.
Okay.
So all of us are there with different degrees of intensity. All of us are meditating. Each person based on this thing, different degrees of intensity will be there. Babuji here, he talks of devotion. He says, he talks about electric current or, fire, electric fire, where only there is no smoke and all that, just only fire is there. That kind of devotion works fastest, he claims. So that's So every human being he wants happiness only, but the intensity with which he craves for that freedom is different. So whoever is more deserving, who has put in sincere efforts to attract his grace and then try to talk about his system, help other people know about God, and then you're following the 9th commandment, making people people become aware of the presence of God, and then making them love God by your behavior, and then trying to talk about the greatness of the Guru and his system to other people, then you become more deserving. Or if you do 9 p.m. prayer where you sincerely wish that all people should be free from misery and suffering, which is only possible if the mind is balanced, and it is only possible if they develop love for God. And if you very honestly, with extreme sincerity in your heart, if you maintain that feeling in your heart, then you become deserving of His grace.
Right.
We all have the potential to, in Sir, in one of his talks, in one of the seminars, he said, all of you are Murids, he said. Murad and Murid, there was a topic actually.
Right.
And he said, all of you are cynosure of the God's eyes. That's what he made a statement actually, which should be encouraging for all of us actually. Okay.
Right. We can.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Of course, it is true that initiation is an essential thing, and there is no go without this. This is necessarily helpful in attaining really high approaches. It is a different thing if anybody creates in himself the conditions of high approaches. Even then, he remains deprived of the great gift. The person who does initiation becomes as compelled after the initiation as the father of his sons. However naughty the son may be, still the father claims him as his son, as his own son, and his parentage remains the same. Yes, in spirituality, some such thing is also produced in special cases where the teacher can cut off any of his spiritual descendants, but this is done in very exceptional cases, and only the Guru can decide about it. The principle of initiation is that initiation can be done only when the faith of the aspirant is matured and when he is going deep enough is in love.
This is the prerequisite for initiation.
Yeah, when the faith of the aspirant is matured and when he is going deep enough in love.
Because faith and surrender are two sides of the same coin actually. Generally, majority of the people, as they are progressing on the path, slowly they start realizing that true happiness is actually inside your body, inside your heart, inside your own being itself. And then slowly the interest of the world, which is actually your perception about the world is only a modification of your mind. You physically cannot directly get in touch with the physical objects. It is not possible actually. So he understands that, and then he realizes that that is not the truth, and the real truth is very subtle, which is present, not only present in his heart, but it's present in all matter, animate and inanimate matter. That understanding unfolds in his mind. As it unfolds, the faith also starts maturing actually. As it unfolds, surrender also starts maturing, and a stage comes when you no more consider yourself as an independent person. You feel that you're part of the whole setup and you're interdependent, and you no more wish that events happening to you should be changed and all that, because you know that everything has got a cause and effect relationship. and you accept whatever is happening is for your own good and all that. You don't use your will to resist changes happening inside you or outside you. So you feel one with the whole matrix actually. You no more feel disturbed when that thing is gone actually. So you will not make any attempt to wish for things other than what they are.
Yeah.
In any field, it doesn't mean simply spirituality or your personal this thing. Even the whole world also. Suppose wars are happening, economy is tanking, civil wars are happening, murders are happening. Even then also you will not be, you'll have a sense of equanimity, and then you accept it as what is happening is the correct thing to happen. That's all. You don't, because God is some other thing and some other shin. So whoever, any part of in this network, if he's doing a wrong thing, he has to face the consequences. Good thing he has to. Whole society is doing a wrong thing, whole society will face the consequences. Whole society, suppose, is going in a materialistic way, trying to overexploit natural resources. Whole society will be have to face that reaction from nature itself. So we don't have to sit in judgment and then try to feel that you are a guru and then you have to set right things and all that. All that nonsense is a kind of madness actually. Thinking that you are some general manager of this world trying to set things right, which Sir has mentioned in one of his articles, which there's every risk of people who are developing spiritually will fall a prey to that thinking. Because it is natural to think like that at some stage.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, here about our gathering. Some gentleman does puja for the sake of courtesy, and another sits for it for the sake of formality. Well, thank God there is at least this much. Some gentleman has got the habit of sitting for puja once in a while and wishes that I myself should form this habit in him. Well, so much for the better. Possible someone or other may even enter the sphere of blasphemy by remembering me instead of God in times of difficulties and hardship. None seems to possess real interest. Even if there are such, they can be counted on one's fingers. They have got neither craving, neither longing nor craving. Once my master Lalaji had written to some gentlemen, I require lions and not sheeps. And he orally told some gentlemen, I have admitted even sheep in my satsang for courtesy's sake. This was his experience. Remembering this, no complaint against anybody remains. It appears that it is my fault alone, but then everyone has to be looked after. I thought of methods. It is a matter of gratification to me to think of receiving some light or of receiving it in future, which at least is better than nothing. Some work or other at least would have been done. Anyway, our intention is right. You can imagine the conditions of my heart by the following instance. Yesterday, when I was returning from the office, I saw a monkey was lying on the roadside, breathing its last due to some injury. I was moved very much. I could do nothing. I stood there for a minute and transmitted so that its conditions may go on minute, so that its condition may become better in future. I did not like to do more than this. Anything to add?
Nothing to add, only if you can use our imagination and do a thought experiment and try to pierce into the heart of the master, it'll do us good, how he felt when he did like that. You can do a thought experiment and try to imagine that state. This is one way of cultivating constant remembrance, Thought experiments help you quite a lot.
Yeah, sure.
So you can imagine yourself putting in that shoes and try to, he says that you can imagine the conditions of my heart. So let us imagine what he felt when he saw that monkey dying on his last breath. So then you will get a sense of the heart which Babuji possessed for all of us. Okay.
Yeah. Again and again, the thought comes to me that I had written the last letter very strongly, but I was compelled to do so. I thought that if there was no hardness in the tongue, there was the hardness in the pen, because it has got steel and wood also. And so, possibly, you may show the flow in divine love by becoming harsh upon yourself due to this hardness. Probably, this hardness may bring out some good result, although it is a fact that unless there is the will of God, He does not attract the servant towards Himself, and it is impossible to have His vision. Now, the question arises, why should he himself, why should he trouble himself to attract the servant towards himself? Because if there is any motive in the Lord, then I think he too is just like a householder, like ourselves. But along with this, it is also a fact that when our motive is to join him, then we adopt such methods only, and this alone is called abhyas, practice. When the intense desire is to join him is created, some kind of impulse begins to be produced in him. But then, brother, what is it that to create his being? Who has got the leisure? We have fallen in our own mire and are taking pleasure in that alone. Even the pain here is pleasure. It does not mean that we have become saints. So we'll continue and then we can take a pause. To speak in general, everyone is mad after his own thought. I call pain as pleasure because people tolerate any kind of misery, but we never like to step out of our own. Because the moment we step out of the kitchen gets contaminated. One step is inside the kitchen and the other outside. We do not think of taking both the steps outside the kitchen so that we may step outside, and also the kitchen may remain quite uncontaminated. Here is talking of the confusion between pain and pleasure, right? When he's talking one step inside kitchen and one step outside kitchen.
Even the pain here is the generally the actually kitchen here means the world actually. I mean, we are attached to the world, and then we don't want to leave that attachment. We are not undue attachment to the world can be taken as kitchen. That's what I am thinking. Pain is also retains the ego, you know. A person is in pain, he is suffering from disease, he attracts, you know, he plays the victim card, and all wife, children and all, they gather around him, they press his feet and all that. By that he gets recognition, and his ego is, he feels that he is a viable entity, and he is somebody on this earth. So pain becomes a very major factor which keeps the ego alive actually. So in that sense, people don't like to get out of pain also, because if you get out of pain, ego also is gone. So ego is going means individuality is gone. Nobody would like to leave the individuality. It is indirectly connected with the fear of death actually. So the instinct to live infinitely is extremely powerful. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to continue living infinitely, immortality. So, and that is linked with the sense of self. This sense of self, which has got four characteristics like priority. You feel that your sense of self is existing prior to your mind and body also. And it has got a sense of unity. You feel that all your experiences throughout your life, sensory experiences united, like you hear, you get information from from eye, ear, nose, throat, and sense organs. All that, though they're coming from different sense faculties, they give you a unified experience. That gives you, that is the cause of, one of the causes for giving you the feeling of self actually. And you also feel that the object outside, though it is a combination of several things, you feel that objects are also unified actually. And fourth is subject-object duality. So I feel that Dharmesh is in Pune, he is different from me. So I am subject, I am looking at his face, he is the object. So that gives you a feeling of self actually. And then the sense of agency, that I am a doctor, I am a surgeon, I am helping people. So these feelings will give rise to a strong feeling of ego. And the ego, that ego, since it is a false structure, it is got no reality status to it. It is always feels threatened actually. And so in order to overcome that threatening forces, you earn more money, you purchase more beautiful cars, you purchase expensive clothes, and then so that way you try to bolster your ego. You want recognition in society and all that. But in the same way, if you fall sick also, the ego is strengthened. People come and then they give you flowers and then they wish you, "Arey, tum kya ho gaya? You're such a good man, you're suffering such disease," and all that. All those thoughts make the, in that sense, pain is also a pleasure in that sense, if I take it that way. So most people, they are suffering, they have got a chance to just throw away the attachments and then they can be free from that suffering. People who are losing business unnecessarily, having a lot of stress, they have a lot of money to survive and be comfortable in the world, but then they don't want to leave those attachments because like political leaders, corporate leaders, they don't want to, cling to positions. They fight for elections and all that so strongly. It is basically because of this. So one step is in the world and one step is in God actually. Because if you feel that if you surrender to God, people take advantage out of you, and then they will cause damage to you, and then you trust everybody. Everybody will, you have those fears that people will take you for a ride, and then so we don't want to lose control of our life, actually.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Like, suppose if you trust everybody, like if you feel everybody is God, then you can easily be a victim of cyber fraud or whatever it is. So many things can happen to you. You can be easily defeated in political sphere. You can be easily defeated in material sphere, and world will consider you as a failure in world. But you are one God, actually. So ultimate victory is yours because God is by your side.
Trust is the basis, right? If you don't, you cannot live if you don't trust. Is the concept of fear and the security that has been
But
born.
that is what he is telling. No, for spirituality, he requires lions, not sheep.
Right. Yeah.
So if you feel that you will be at a disadvantage if you become simple and plain in this world, and then people will exploit you, that's why you'll keep one foot in the kitchen and one foot outside.
Do we want to
a kind of a courage is required to give up things which finally will give up. When the time of death comes, nobody will say ki 10 minutes ruko bhai mera, let me sort out my problems with my children or debts and all that karke aa jaun. Death will not wait for that. Immediately, instantly will be taken out of the scene, and things will go on as usual. But we feel that we are so important that the whole world in our home and in our in our organization where we are working will collapse, and then we give ourselves a lot of self-importance, and we feel that we're indispensable. So that is how mind tricks us into, the famous Yaksha question. Yaksha asks Yudhishthira, he asks so many questions. The most famous question is, Kim Ascharya? What is the most surprising thing? You tell me. Then he answers that people see death everywhere all around them, but he never thinks that he is going to die at any time. And then he is satisfied with that answer. Then he wakes up all his brothers, and then they drink that water and then go back. That's worth visiting, that questions of Yaksha to Yudhishthira, actually.
So this is after Mahabharata or before the war?
No, in the Aranya Parva, they are in incognito, no? So the brothers, Dakshinamurti can tell you about that story.
Yeah, it is in Aranya Parva, as you said. So the brothers went in search of water, and they find a lake. And when the first one wants to get the water, he hears a voice. Unless you answer my questions, you cannot touch the water. He ignores it and takes water. So he fell unconscious. Like that, all the brothers, they fell unconscious. When Yudhishthira comes, he listens to the same voice and okay, I will answer. And he answers the questions one by one. Then he said, Yasha said, okay, now I will give you the life of one of your brothers, whom you want. Then he says, I want the life of Nakula. Then the Yasha asks him, why you want the life of Nakula? You have Bhima and Arjuna who are very powerful and can help you in your conquest of the Kauravas. No, he said, my father has two wives. I am alive of the son of Kunti, and the Nakula is the son of Madri. So I want both the mothers to have their children come to life. So Yasha is happy and for his balanced view and equanimity, and he gives the life of all the four. So that is the story. But the questions are very interesting and very important.
Okay. Yeah.
You should read them.
Yeah. Now I recollect seeing that in that Mahabharata.
And
But
that Yasha is the Dharmaraja himself, Dharmaraja.
Okay.
He wanted to test them.
Any other questions? Anything anyone wants to share?
No, we'll stop here now.